Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the KAIJU Cataclysm. I am DREAGEN.
I'm Ashley.
Got our cool little subtitles now, just so, just in case so you're hearing impaired, at least you'll know who's who. The rest of the episode you'll be completely screwed on, but Alright, so this episode we're talking again about Godzilla, King of Monsters. Now, we've talked about it in the past, kind of mostly speculation, what we think they might do, what we think they should do. And now the film has actually gone into production. It is being directed by Michael Dougherty, as we previously stated, who did Trick or Treat and Krampus, which personally I like those movies a lot. So I thought he was an interesting choice, but a good choice, because I think he'll put like a kind of a clever kind of take to it. All his movies have a very kind of stylized feel to them. So I'm curious to see how that's going to look when applied to like a kaiju movie.
Yeah.
Now, with this, the official plot synopsis has been released. So now we know concrete what the movie's about. So I'll read it to you here, and you guys can follow along on screen. So the news story follows the heroic efforts of the cryptozoological agency Monarch as its members face off against a battery of Godzilla-sized monsters, including the mighty Godzilla, who collides with Mothra, Rodan, and his ultimate nemesis, the three-headed King Ghidorah. When these ancient superspecies, thought to be mere myth, rise again, they all vie for supremacy, leaving humanity's very existence hanging in the balance. So what does this plot tell us? Pretty much everything we already kind of guessed it would be about, given the fact that, okay, it's going to have Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah. Basically, what the official plot's telling us, they're all going to show up, fight, and we're all going to be just ducking and covering while it's all going down. Okay, so nothing really new, but I don't hold it against them, because quite honestly, what else could this movie even be about, given that? So, but it's still nice to kind of see it official in writing. I mean, again, I think we all would have been shocked that the plot would have been something dramatically different, like it's a weird rom-com, like, or whatever. But yeah, so, okay, shocker, the movie is about exactly what we all pretty much knew what it was going to be about. But with that said, like I said, it's good to see it kind of in writing, kind of down official, so we can, at the very least, we know for sure we're not speculating anymore. Yeah. Again, I don't think there was much speculation going on so much as people pretty much just calling it like it was. But again, like I said,
especially with the Kong Skull Island post-credit scene, it's kind of like
they basically, that whole post-credit sequence essentially set up
solidified it. So
so yeah, we know we're gonna see all three of them now. There has been talk that we're actually going to be getting maybe some practical effects in this film. One of the his name escapes me at the moment. I apologize. I'll let it flash on screen when I remember it later on. I'm sure as soon as I'm in the editing process, I'll be like, oh yeah. But one of the gentlemen who has worked on James Cameron's Aliens, Predators, Pumpkinhead. They did a lot of. They recently did the smaller film Harbinger Down. Basically, they're kind of like the guys who did a lot of the creature feature stuff, like in the 80s and early 90s, where a lot of suit-based work, practical effects, puppets, and stuff like that. I know one of them has been hired on for. In fact, whatever. I'll just look it up. Oh.
So it's gonna bug you now.
Yeah, it really is gonna bug me. But right off the bat, while I'm doing that, what are some of your thoughts now that we kind of have some, I guess, concrete news about this movie?
I mean, nothing that we haven't said before, really. I mean, I know that sounds like a cop-out, but...
Oh, that's all, folks. See you next time.
Well, I'm definitely excited for the movie. I'm really excited to see how they're gonna kind of, not recreate, but kind of modernize the designs, kind of to go with the legendary Godzilla design.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you find it?
I'm keep talking. Keep. Tom Woodruff Jr. Yeah. Yeah, but no, please keep talking. I don't want to stop you.
But yeah, I mean, so do we know, in terms of between the first movie and this one, how much time is supposed to have passed in between, or anything I don't think we know.
Not that I know. I mean, right now I'm just assuming it's going to be the literal amount of time between films. I think it comes out, the first one came out 2014, second one, this one comes out 2019. That's what? Yeah, it's like 5 years.
5.
So as far as I know, right now it's gonna be 5 years later. We don't know. I mean, it could be like we watch a movie. It's like 20 years later, or something. Who knows? I mean, I really don't know how much longer it's going to be. But I'm assuming. Because I figured kind of why bother.
I was gonna say, yeah, to have like 3 completely different type of new kaiju show up. That's why I was thinking, like, is it gonna be a while or is it like?
But at the same time,
I know
it's
they've
like,
insinuated that they're underneath, but
Again, I mean, Godzilla, it was seen in '54, and then he wasn't seen again until 2014. So that's
Yeah.
a lengthy period of time right there. And if these things are as old as they're said to be, that that amount of time for them really isn't much of anything. But again, ancient cultures apparently have seen them because we saw those cave paintings in the post credits Tickets to Kong where you saw like ancient man depicting these battles. So obviously, I'm sure they're implying that these are the same ones, not just the same species. Because of Godzilla's,
I'm most excited to see King Ghidorah.
I really want. Well, first of all, I'm relieved that he's gonna have 3 heads because I'm always worried like, okay, they're gonna try to modernize it. 3 heads isn't realistic, so we'll just make him a big dragon. I know that sounds stupid. What's the point of doing King Ghidorah if he's not gonna have 3 heads? I agree, but that fear was in the back of my mind. And then when I saw the trailers for Transformers the last night,
I was gonna say that's what I was just thinking of. Thank God that movie flopped. So
it flopped for a Transformers. The movie made freaking literally a battalion of battleships filled with money's worth of money. So the movie didn't flop.
For what it is,
no one over at Paramount is weeping right now. Let's be very, very clear about that.
For what it is.
Yeah, but my point is when I saw like
they're basically Mecha King Ghidorah.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, okay, is Legendary now going to be apprehensive about doing a big 3-headed dragon because look, Transformers got one and we won't want to be compared to Transformers even though King Ghidorah came first. It's kind of like when they did the Dinobots in Transformers. While I thought they were a little bit too over designed. At least they looked like robot dinosaurs. And then when you saw the Zords in the Power Rangers movies, which by the way I really enjoyed, so if you haven't seen it, do so. But they were a little too under-designed. They weren't like they were too abstract. They didn't look enough. And I was wondering, okay, did they do that maybe because Transformers are the Dinobots and they didn't want to be compared to the Dinobots? So long story short, when I saw 3-headed robot dragon and new Transformers, I was like, oh, are they going to be now like, people are going to think we're copying them? Yeah. But based on those cave paintings we saw, well, he's a big 3-headed dragon still, so obviously that hasn't been an issue. So that was my big thing. I'm glad he will at least has this silhouette. The question is now like the specifics, like what is he going to look like? I'm actually curious to how he's going to stand.
Yeah.
Because before he was always like, because he was an actor in a suit, so he would walk upright and had puppeteers work the heads and the wings and whatnot. Or I don't know if it was the actor might have been inside working the wings, but I kind of figured maybe, probably he can rear up, but I kind of picture him maybe walking a little bit like Smaug.
Well, I was gonna say though, but normally he doesn't have front arms. Do you think
but he uses his arms are his wings. But usually when you see,
that's what I'm saying. Based on the design, obviously they always just had him out. So do you think they're gonna have him kind of?
Again, I'm wondering if that's for the cave painting they wanted to have the classic. Like I figured maybe when he's attacking or fighting, he kind of rears up and flaps his wings. But if you look at how a bat walks, for him to walk, because he's gonna be so top heavy. Otherwise, because he's got the wings and
that's what
he's
I mean.
got
do
the
you
head.
Think he's gonna have him be like a more realistic looking dragon?
I think so, and I don't think that's a problem because honestly, the reason why he walked the way he did in the Toho films was because it was tokusatsu, and
I know,
it'd be too hard for the actor to walk.
The way his wingspan is, at least in the
Well, his wings were too small in the original.
Well, and the shape.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a suit.
Because that's the thing,
they're gonna have to realistic him up a little bit. I mean, we're not gonna literally just see a CGI version of the old Toho suit. It's kind of like how they would Godzilla. He still looks like Godzilla, but he kind of has more of a realistic, animalish kind of
Godzilla,
quality to him.
I feel like it's easier because his base design is still. I mean, it's. I don't know.
No, I know what you mean. It's a bit more.
I don't want to say simplistic, but it kind of is compared to King Ghidorah, so...
Oh yeah, King Ghidorah, especially in the Showa era, was one of the most ambitious, if not the most ambitious kind of kaiju that Toho did.
Yeah.
You know, where they really, like, yes, he was upright, but the actor had, I feel, far less control in that suit compared to, like,
Oh, it was a lot more reliant on the puppeteers.
Exactly. It was kind of a joint effort because they were trying to remove as much of the kind of human design quality to it. But even like Rodan, which, again, in theory, same thing. How is Rodan going to walk? Because obviously before, when he wasn't flying around on wires or wasn't like a big puppet, the actor would be on his hind legs, flapping his wings. And yes, you figure a giant pterosaur could probably rear up, flap his wings. But when he's moving, he's going to have to go down and use his, fold the wings up and kind of walk. And again, so I kind of picture Smaug just beefier, but with 3 heads. Because realistically speaking, that's going to be the wing.
So here's what I'm thinking. Gregory from Dragon's Dogma, but golden with 3 heads. Boom!
Yeah, but Gregory had 4 limbs. He didn't walk on his wings.
Well, whatever. But with those kind of...
Well, yeah, but Ghidorah won't have front legs.
No,
he's going to be using... Again, he's going to have to walk...
I forgot he had front legs, okay? Technically, if you want to get real here, Smaug did too.
Yeah, that first...
In the first movie.
Yeah, if you look at the scene where he's walking...
They fixed it now.
Yeah, they hadn't posted. They added, like, the wing limb. But if you watch the original one, there was a quick shot where he actually has front legs. But that's my... Well, unless...
So we're both wrong.
Glad we got that settled.
Okay, fine. We'll just say Alduin or Parthenax from Skyrim then.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, again...
Parthenax is gold already, so...
Unless they give Ghidorah front limbs. But from those cave paintings, it didn't look like he had any. You know what I mean? So I ultimately, I think... By the way, this podcast is not brought to you by Gatorade. In case you're wondering.
We're just thirsty people.
We're just thirsty. But, when I'm thirsty, talking about Godzilla, nothing quenches my thirst quite like... No, I'm gonna get so much shit for that.
Just do this.
Yeah. You're just like crazy people when we get thirsty.
Just spilled it all myself, so that was a bad idea.
Yeah, that could have been hot.
Not on Geralt.
Not on Geralt. Yeah, I know we're rocking out our fandoms here.
Boob.
Did you say boob?
I said boom, but I can understand the
confusion. Yes. But anyway, but with Ghidorah, Rodan is going to be, again, a similar thing. I think we're going to kind of see more... I think they're going to both be able to, like, adopt kind of the old postures, so we can kind of see how, kind of see those characters.
I'm trying to remember in Final Wars, how did they do them, even though because they did them in CG, right?
Partially in CG. Partially, there was a few shots when he was flying around.
So I know Mothra they did too, and she was a lot more like...
Yeah, well... Do you really how the sound went?
No.
Well, I know with Rodan, you never really saw him on the ground. The only time I really saw him kind of land, at one point he landed like on a skyscraper in New York. I don't know if was it the Empire State or was it the Chrysler Building. I can't remember, but he was still perched on a thing and kind of with his wings out, like cat roaring, that roar cackle he does. And then the only other shots we saw him after that, he was always flying. Yeah. So you never really saw him on the ground moving, and I think that's kind of one of the ways they just got around that issue too. Mothra, I mean, but that's the thing. Okay, in terms of, I'm assuming we're going to see both forms of Mothra. I don't know, the caterpillar and the butterfly or the moth. We've seen the moth.
Butterfly, who are you?
Filthy son of a bitch that I am. But we've seen the moth version done in CG. They did it.
That's what I mean.
We've seen it in GMK. They did it in Final Wars. I mean, again, there were quick shots. It wasn't really long, but we've seen how she would kind of move.
Kind of like actual action scenes.
Yeah, like more fluid, organic movement. Come to think of it, there was actually a cool shot of Ghidorah in GMK when he kind of like is kind of revived, and they do a shot of him all CG where his wings kind of whip out and he kind of rises up. So we've gotten glimpses of some of these characters in CGI, but
very short glimpses.
Yeah, but this will be really like the first time we're going to see these characters completely like modernized. Again, for Moth now, and the other thing it brings up the question, okay, is a characterization. Now, I mean, traditionally Mothra was always kind of a very benevolent kaiju, and
I was gonna say I know we touched on it last time, but is she gonna have her fairies and stuff?
We don't know, but I noticed in that cave painting when they showed her, if you look at the painting, depicted in the painting too are people like praying to her, and you didn't see that in any of the other photos. So that's the thing too. So people were they're depicting Mothra actively being worshipped. I'm sure all these beings were kind of worshipped as gods to some degree.
Maybe Mothra and Kong are kind of like rivals.
Oh, we don't. Well, that's the thing is like what is because they keep saying these monsters are gonna be vying for power, but what does that mean? I mean, obviously it's like I kind of picture because that's the thing. Godzilla and Rodan when they fought, they were still kind of like these two big alpha animals, just kind of beating each other up because they're just kind of big and that's their nature. Where Mothra was more of a more sentient, more benevolent. Was and that's my thing. Are they going to just kind of reduce her to just another big brawler, or is she going to be are you going to see a kaiju in this monsterverse that's a bit more cognitive, more because again we don't even know how smart Godzilla is. I mean they didn't he wasn't really in the movie all that much in the first one to really get a sense of it. I mean, there was that great shot of when he's on the ground, and Aaron Taylor Johnson is kind of just looking at him, and you see kind of like Godzilla just looks exhausted, and then he almost looks at Aaron Taylor Johnson, and almost has like this look of like just
I'm fucking tired.
Well, yeah, but it looked like he was just
there
was more there, and I know Andy Serkis kind of did some motion capture stuff for the face, so I felt those moments where Godzilla kind of had, you can kind of see it. So I don't know, it hinted at he's more than just a big animal just doing his thing. I mean, granted, he still is, but I feel like they kind of touched upon maybe there's more going on up there. But again, he wasn't in the movie nearly long enough, and essentially his role in the movie was just to kind of put a beat down on the Mutos. So even if there was more there, he wasn't really given the opportunity or the time to kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like emote or like contemplate his role in the universe or whatever. So the other thing we talked about was returning cast and people maybe who probably won't be coming back. And one of the things I always said, the mistake I think they made with the first Godzilla, which again, I love that movie. I know some people kind of poo-poo on it. I am not one of them. Did I think it was a perfect movie? Absolutely not. But most movies that I love aren't perfect movies. But I'm not going to sit around nitpicking. I'd rather just sit back and watch the movie and enjoy.
Everyone is entitled to their opinions.
And boy, they all sure have one, don't they? Us not being any exceptions, of course. But yeah, so one of the things I said, okay, that it focused too much on the military aspect. While I have nothing against the military, and I think the military is great, and you gotta have the military in a Godzilla movie. But I think the military, like I said before, is more of a functioning tool. It's like, okay, we have a plan, let's put it into action. To the militaries, they make the plan happen. But usually it's a group of scientists who come up with the idea because their job is to study Godzilla or these creatures. And
again, basically like they did in Shin.
Yeah, where it's like, all right, we could just stick just with the military, who aside from shooting Godzilla, don't have any interest beyond that. But which again, if we were this happening in real life, we'd probably be right there with the military, like, oh crap, let's worry about what he is, where he came from later. Let's make sure we're all safe first. But as an audience member, that's not as interesting. We're asking the questions, that the scientists in the film are asking, and for us to get those answers, they have to get those answers. So we're much more interested in following them. So I said, okay, we have this great agency, Monarch, whose whole job is to study these giant monsters. And I thought, well, why are we not following them? We should be following, Sally Hawken and Ken Watanabe's characters, because they have the coolest job in the whole world, and makes them the most interesting characters in the movie. Well, part of the plot synopsis you saw is that we are now following Monarch. Monarch is front and center. Ken Watanabe and Sally Hawkins are confirmed to be returning. We have now, and they seem to be the only returning cast members, so Aaron Taylor Johnson, and the actress who played his wife, I apologize, I cannot remember her name. She is the younger sister to the Olsen twins. They're not
Emily or something.
I don't remember what it is, but
I don't know.
But they're not coming back, and I had no problems with their characters, but with Heisenberg, crap.
Oh God.
I know, Heisenberg, Zordon, shit.
Bill.
Oh my God, we are the most horrible people in the world right now.
Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Bill. Holy crap.
Yes, press.
I'm really tired. I opened this morning, so.
Yeah.
That's my excuse.
Yeah, it's been a long day. But his character was the only one you could argue we could kind of keep following, because again, he was a nuclear scientist, so he would have some kind of reasoning for maybe even joining Monarch.
Except they had to go and kill him.
They killed him off. So his son was a soldier who defuses bombs, and his son's wife is a nurse. Nothing wrong with any of that, except there's no reason for them to be involved with this issue.
It's like we were saying before. I think it's just because they didn't know if they'd be making a sequel or whatever. So they're like, okay, let's not get bogged down with introducing all this Monarch stuff if we're not going to be...
I don't even think they had it all figured out yet.
Well,
this is before the MonsterVerse was declared. This is back when they were hoping maybe they would make one or two more. I mean, so I think they now realize that, okay, if this is going to go forward... we need to kind of
focus on it.
Yeah, we need to focus on the people who are directly, and Godzilla needs to feel less like a background threat and not about like, oh, it's a character drama about these guys trying to reunite with his family, and you can replace Godzilla with another natural disaster of some kind. No, now it's got to be a monster movie first and foremost. So who are the human characters now? Well, the people who study the damn monsters. So in addition to Sally Hopkins and Ken Watanabe, we have a lot of new people. We have Millie Bobby Brown, who played Eleven in Stranger Things. She was actually the first person announced. We have O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, who played Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton.
He's hella fine.
Huh?
What?
I don't know.
He is hella fine.
Yeah, sure.
Just saying.
But yeah, he's in the film. There's been a whole slew of new cast members. I'll kind of let them run down the screen here. So it's basically it's kind of like sometimes you might hear this term like a soft reboot, which is basically, yes, it's still in canon with the previous film, but essentially they're kind of starting from scratch almost. They have a few threads from the first film that lead to this. That's not a clean break, obviously. So obviously the first film still feels like it's a part of it.
Yeah.
But as a whole, we're kind of starting completely fresh here. I mean, mostly new cast, new focus. And again, I feel now they're trying harder to make a Godzilla movie. I know when there was asked, Gareth Edwards asked, are you going to make a Godzilla movie that fans are going to like? And he, very openly said, I'm actually trying to make a Godzilla movie for non-Godzilla fans. Yeah. Which, you definitely want to get the wider audience in there. And to be fair, it worked. A lot of the people who had loved it were, the wider audience who really didn't know anything about Godzilla. And most of the people who were complaining about the movie were Godzilla fans because they didn't have enough Godzilla and they didn't felt the film didn't focus on him enough, so to speak. So I feel now this time they think, okay, we know the wider audience now knows the character. He's been rebranded. I feel they feel more comfortable, more safe, making a more traditional, if you will, Godzilla movie with more of kind of the classic Godzilla fanfare, if you will, which I think is good. I mean, again, I even said, I know a lot of people didn't like how much they were hiding Godzilla in the first one, and I didn't mind it. I felt maybe they did it a little bit too much, but it does work as an introductory measure. And you got to realize they are trying to now not only bring Godzilla back out of retirement at that point, but also get him out to an audience who, for the most part, just remember him as like this cheesy thing from like the 60s and 70s, not realizing that he has a lot of darker films, that his films were running up through the 90s and through the millenniums. So they're basically kind of introduce a brand new audience to Godzilla and trying to show them that he's not this cheesy kiddie thing. So I think for that reason they played a bit more safe and kind of put the human characters more in the forefront. But again, now that they see that people respond to it, down like Kong Skull Island did really well, and that movie was just like a big monster fest, just no hold. Basically, it was the opposite of 2014. Oh, yeah. So I think now they feel emboldened, like, okay, we can now just kind of make a balls to the wall Godzilla movie, and that's good because again, even if you didn't mind the slow build that was 2014, it only works as an introductory measure. Like now the Godzilla in this continuity has been established. There's no reason to hide him anymore. People know he exists. People know he's out there. They know what he looks like. So there's no reason to hide Godzilla anymore. So
it's gonna sound dumb, but I really hope, like, it's totally corny too, but I hope in the new movie they have like Godzilla merch. So it's
like within the
within like the universe.
That would be kind of interesting
because he did save the day, so to speak.
I know that's like headline of the news: King of Monsters save city ? And I love that because it's like the media now is a form of entertainment. Now the news run with the most salacious headlines just to get people. So if something like this happened, like,
Yeah.
somebody would be capitalizing
Oh,
on it.
yeah.
I mean, somebody would be out there on the internet putting merch, you know, taking, like, you know.
And you have, like, those crazy, like, conspiracy, like, cultist groups where they're like,
Oh, yeah, I hope they have all
I
that kind of
know.
stuff, all these groups on the internet, like, who is Monarch, all that kind of stuff. Well, if you look at Pacific Rim, when in the opening credits when they were showing you the montage throughout the history, they said once they kind of got used to the idea of kaiju being real, yeah, they made toys of them. They had, you know, it became a part of their reality. So someone decided to, hey, let's
I just think it'd be really fun if they did it.
stick a price tag on and make some money. So yeah, that could be a thing, and I would like that because again, it seems like everything in our culture, our society is commercialized now.
Yeah.
So I would love to see, like, you know, what happens when we now come to terms with the fact that there are giant monsters in the world, especially if it has been like 5 years. So
Yeah.
some of the shock is worn off. You know, yeah, somebody would totally try to make a buck off of it, and that would be really cool to see. The other thing, I'm like, okay, is Monarch still a secret agency, or are they now in the public spotlight? I want to see, like, you know, public ridicule, because obviously the government knew about, you know, these monsters. That's why they had Monarch to begin with. So what happens out to the public is like, you know, you knew about these things all along. Can we trust you? This and that. And I almost would love to see like a Monarch has like a PR person, because essentially now we need public support. You know, we need, so it's almost like we need to kind of put a positive spin on this. So I want to kind of see now, like, the shadow organization
The
now.
political side of all of it.
Yeah, like, you know, one of the great things we saw when we watched Shin was, you know, you saw those people protesting, like, to save Shin, you know, not to kill him. And realistically speaking, that's more of a realistic approach, you know, especially nowadays, you know, where everyone needs a cause. So I think there'd be a lot of people, up to this point, Godzilla's still, I guess, kind of the hero, but you know, but I think what this film is going to show that it's like when all these monsters kind of come up, regardless of who's, you know, kind of being more the aggressor, just the act of these guys fighting is, you know, I mean, you saw what happened to San Francisco, and now you're going to have Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah, plus Godzilla. It's like, wherever they throw down, it's going to just be like, just endless, you know what I mean? It really doesn't matter who the good guy is.
Yeah.
Even Mothra, when she fought, she caused devastation. It's unavoidable. So it basically is like a natural disaster. It's not about being good or evil.
It's secondhand damage, basically.
Yeah, if a hurricane, you know, blows through a city, well, the hurricane has no ill will to anything. It's not even alive. It's just a weather pattern. But if it comes ashore, it's going to create destruction. It's just what it does. And I kind of feel, again, kaiju are kind of like natural disasters in that way, where just walking from one end to a city to another will cause endless amounts of destruction. So, but yeah, I mean, so again, it seems like they kind of had the same ideal, I think most of us all had, was that
it was the logical next step, basically.
Yeah. Again, we need the focus on the people who are focusing on the monsters themselves, because they are, like I keep saying it, they have the most interesting job in the world. They study giant monsters. Why do hell do I want to go follow a guy? Again, I'm sorry his wife wasn't even worried about his kid. I get that. And if I was in the movie, I would be probably in the same position as him doing what he did. I'm not in the movie. I'm the guy watching the movie. So I don't care. Show me the guy who studies Godzilla. I want to hear the theories. I want to see the think tank. I want to see other people discussing this and that. Like, you know, is his body susceptible to this? Can his body regenerate? All that nerdy kaiju shit.
Well, it's funny,
you know, like, I want
the
that.
irony that, like, you're either one person or the other. Like, you know,
in these
I mean?
movies,
yeah,
because that's all you can be, really. Because either you're the guy like, I don't know what's going on and I don't care, I just don't want to die, or you're the people who find this to be the most fascinating thing in the world.
But even like in terms of like the viewers, I feel like you're either the guy that's like, oh, I don't care why it's happening, it's just awesome and I want to watch it, or you're the guy that's like, oh man, I really want to know how like everything works.
Oh, I'm the latter.
Well, I know.
My favorite Godzilla movies are always the ones where there's a room full of people just trying to figure this shit out. Because I'm right there with them, like, man, I want to know everything and anything about this. One of the reasons why I think 54 and 84, well, they're my two favorites, because again, they follow people who are trying to figure out 84 even more so, I think. You know, as much, even though 54 will always be the greatest Godzilla movie, 84 is my favorite, because I think they took the principles of 84 and really kind of modernized them. And
54?
Well, the 84 took what 54 did.
Yeah, you said 84 twice, sorry.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, the 84 took what 54 did and built upon them in at the time a modern setting, you know, and Shin pretty much did the same thing too. So I like it when it focuses on trying to figure out what the monsters are, how they work, and try to figure out what we can do based on that, because obviously planes and tanks don't work.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, because obviously if you look at the difference between those three movies, obviously technology's come so far between each of them. So
yeah, I mean, Shin was like pretty much, as far as I know, was all CGI. I don't think they used any of the practical effects they had initially developed for it. And I know they built like a big kind of robotic puppet of like
well,
his.
I don't even mean in terms of.
Oh, you mean how they would fight him? And
yeah, like how they would.
Like the tech, yeah.
Yeah, like how they would the science into breaking down like how to what he is, you know, how to, you know.
Yeah, like again, 54 had the oxygen destroyer, which, you know, pseudoscience, but again, it was building the metaphor. A weapon created a living weapon, so now we need to create an even worse weapon. 84 was just like, you know what, we can't beat him, so let's just make him want to go somewhere else more, you know, so that, you know, back to the, you know, the primeval, you know, underground and the volcanoes, which really kind of plays into a little bit like how, because now they're saying in the Monsterverse that they all come from underground. Well, apparently in, you know, 84's continuity and 54, that's where they came from too, so I like how they used that. Yeah. And then in Shin, it was like, you know, what, that kind of blood.
We can't really stop him, like destroy him, stop him.
So we'll just kind of freeze him, you know what I mean? So it was like, but yeah, they're using like different kind of techniques and technologies. So I'd be kind of curious to see.
Yeah.
I know, because again, they said the you know, a hydrogen bomb now they were implying that could kill him, because they were saying the sheer force of the blast would kill them. But he didn't get hit by it, so we actually don't even know if it would have worked. You know, as far as we know, Godzilla's never been hit by a modern nuke. Mm-hmm. We know he can survive, you know, H-bombs from the 50s in this continuity. But, you know, I would be curious to see, okay, what happens if he did get hit by a real nuke? Like with now, kind of the last thing I really want to touch upon was, you know, in the older films, you know, Godzilla's design would change usually throughout. You know, even the ones where they're in the same continuity, especially like in the Heisei era, where, you know, they would make adjustments to the suit. I know for 84... the reason why he looked the way he did so differently in that film was because I guess someone stole the suit. The suit went missing, so they never knew what happened to that suit.
Like they were going to shoot and it was gone? Or?
Oh, no, they filmed the movie, but if you notice from 89 on, he kind of had the classic Heisei era look. Okay, but 84 had a very different look to it, and, you know, and it's... yeah, that suit went missing from what I understand. I don't know if everyone's got found.
Pretty awesome suit, so I'm sure somebody stole it.
That's going to be the crown jewel of someone's collection. I hope it's in somebody's collection, not just in some, you know...
dirt pit.
Yeah. But, you know, because it's suitimation, okay, you make adjustments to the suit. It was not uncommon to see a little lack of continuity in terms of, like, you know, the design as it changed. But now we live in an era of CGI where, again, things are more realistic and audiences are less forgiving when something suddenly looks very different for no reason. So with that said, I was always wondering, okay, would they... It seems like they've corrected a lot of the complaints people had with the first film. And while I think the design was as a whole, you know, enjoy, and I liked it, I didn't think it was a perfect... everyone hated the feet. The stumpy kind of elephant, and no one liked those. I mean, I would have liked to have seen. I thought it would maybe have a broader head, bigger teeth. I thought his teeth were a little small. I mean, again, really nitpicky stuff, and I didn't really. As a whole, it was good. And as far as the feet are concerned, I think you only saw them once or twice in the whole movie. I think
like his reveal, and that was really the only time you saw him, like where it was like, oh.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're looking up the whole time, so you don't really see him. So if something's got to be kind of really bad about him, might as well be the feet, because you're basically never going to see them. But, okay, people weren't completely as a whole satisfied with the design. I mean, they liked it most overall, but obviously you're never going to please anyone. But still, there were a few kind of pervasive complaints. And I guess someone on Twitter, or no, Twitter it was an interview where they talked to Michael Dougherty, and they asked him, you know, will Godzilla... the question was, will he look the same? Will there be any differences? And I guess he said, I'm paraphrasing myself, the quote isn't exact, sorry. I don't feel like fumbling with my phone again. Where he says, Godzilla is like evolution in the flesh. So, ... he wrote.
AKA, they're probably gonna tweak him.
What does that mean, though? Like, evolution of the flesh, bro. He wasn't evolution of the flesh till Shin made him that way, and now that... And that's the other thing, too. Will Shin have an effect on it? Because they were playing it super safe with Godzilla. You know, they did not want to ruffle any feathers, especially considering this is the first American production since 1998, which they took a lot of liberties in that film. So I think of this one, they're like, all right, we're going to play super hardcore safe. So much so that the 2014 Godzilla felt more like the older Godzilla in a lot of ways than Shin even did. I mean, maybe less an allegory, but Shin had multiple forms. He was metamorphosizing. He looked really weird and out there, had all kinds of superpowers. So,
laser light show.
And because it was Toho that made that movie.
He was a one-man rave, okay?
Yeah, he really was, and nobody had a problem with it because it was Toho, so Toho could do it. It's fine. I always said, if 2014 had come out, and it was Shin in that movie, everyone would have lost their shit. Everyone would have been, you know, just screaming foul.
But then again...
Because that's not how Godzilla's supposed to be.
It's like the same people that were like, oh, it's not really Godzilla unless it's Tokusatsu... And then Shin came.
And then suddenly it was like, it's not really Godzilla unless it's Toho. And then I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure you had one more stipulation. Oh, no, I didn't. Are you sure? But anyway, but now that, okay, fine. If Toho's the keeper of the faith, and Toho, it's not, you can't do it unless Toho does it first, so be it. Toho basically did anything and everything with Shin. So I kind of feel maybe now...
He was a tadpole.
Yeah, he was a tail first, then he was a weird, like, I don't know, like, he was so many things. It was a good movie, but I'm just saying, they did a lot of new things with Godzilla that we'd never seen before.
Then again, Anno. What do you expect?
Well, I kind of think that maybe that's why they hired him, because like, we need some guy who's just going to just go nuts with this. Who do we know who would be willing to do that? You know, but with that said, well, I don't think Legendary is going to go that crazy. I wonder now they might feel a bit more free to kind of...
A little more bold.
Yeah, take some more liberties, because it's like, okay, well, if Toho can get away with that...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now, too, they might explain him changing physically within the context, rather than just being like a continuity error. Like, yeah, we're going to make him look like this now and just not call attention to it. They might say, okay, well, his body can evolve. Because then one of the other things people had a problem with, too, is they said, oh, he wasn't a mutant. He was a natural species. And I'm like, okay, even though I've always said, if you look back at the older films, there is clearly more than one Godzilla.
Yeah.
They look the same. They're the same size. They have the same power. So
the fact that he mutated the same way every time.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, if you had, like, 4 Godzillosauruses, as they were, depending if you go by the 90s continuity, and you bombarded them all with, like, the radiation from the hydrogen bomb, assuming all of them didn't die... Their mutations would be wildly different. You know, one might look like Godzilla, mine would have like a freaking elbow going out of his face. Like, you know what I mean? If Godzilla is a single mutation, he is the happiest of all accidents, basically. Unless you're implying that, okay, they're a species, but because they've evolved to kind of absorb radiation, their bodies can kind of self-evolve within a lifetime now.
It's kind of like a Pokemon.
Yeah, essentially like that. So maybe now we're in a time where either...
Instead of a moonstone, you get some radiation.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, for all we know, the way Godzilla looked in 2014, maybe he didn't always look like that. Maybe that's an evolved form, or maybe there was just never enough concentrated amounts of radiation back then, because now we have like man-made sources of radiation that are super concentrated. So maybe Godzilla now is going to be absorbing radiation at such a concentrated level that his cells are going to mutate now in a way they've never done before, and we might now get a Godzilla that is no longer the last of his kind, but kind of like the only Godzilla ever like that. He's going to evolve past his own species and become now that singular Godzilla, and that way it'd be kind of the best of both worlds. Now Godzilla is officially a mutant.
I just kind of picture him like, I don't really like my feet. I'm going to get treatment done. He just sticks his feet in like a radiation pool. And they come out like, I don't know, more like the other designs, you know?
Like,
not stumpy elephant feet.
Yeah, not stumpy elephant feet. Watch that be the only thing that changes about him.
I feel like for sure they're going to... I still I don't understand, like, the way he's balanced, he couldn't have the other feet. I'm like,
I mean, well, again, the way, Shin's legs were still a little narrow at the angle, but by having because normally what they say, because before when Godzilla had the big flat foot, the actor kind of had to walk like this to make it move. Whereas realistically, an animal would not really be able to walk. That's why dinosaurs kind of had the digigrade legs. But by doing, because they gave Godzilla 2014 kind of the shorter, stumpy feet, so he has less surface area he has to lift up. But if you do it as like a digigrade leg, like I did with Shin, it automatically like kind of splits the foot in half. The heel is now up off the ground, so you're only getting like half of the foot touching down. So I've always said, I've always wanted Godzilla to have digigrade legs. The only thing I've, even as a kid, never liked about Godzilla is that he has human-like leg. I've always said,
That's why I thought it was interesting, because obviously you had the limitations of the human body before, but now, like, with Legendary, I'm like, why not just do that?
Well, again, I understand. Again, basically, kind of give him, still give him very beefy, broad leg, but you can still give him like the that extra joint.
I mean.
And I
think
they.
I don't think that would have made a big difference. I mean, again, hopefully, maybe they'll do it this time.
Basically, kind of take the design of Shin's leg and give them the mass of legendaries. Make it better. But and I know people say, yeah, but he needs to have the legs like that to support. Here's the thing.
He's fake.
Godzilla couldn't exist. Yeah. Like his size, it doesn't matter how broad you make it. He can't exist. He's physics as we know. He's too big. It would never work. So his legs could be anything. He's not going to support his own weight. So with that said, you have the license to just make it look cool. It doesn't need to be realistic, and because again, he himself, given his size, is impossible.
As long as it looks cool and convincing.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So but again, there might be implying that okay, he might kind of self-evolve in this movie, and I think that might be.
And here's the thing too. Sorry to get on this whole tangent, but I'm like, in terms of him being an aquatic creature, him having legs like that literally makes no sense.
Well, I mean, the fact that he's aquatic at all, looking the way he does, makes no sense. But again, that's you don't want to. You sure? If you look at the Art of Destruction book, it's all the concept art they did for that movie. I know Gareth Edwards said, you know what? I'm going to ask for versions of Godzilla that I know I'm not going to use in the movie, but I wanted to see every version possible because you never know, there could be that one little piece about it good. So we did like a fish Godzilla, a T-Rex looking, and there's one where Godzilla is like almost like a big fish, and his spines are like big fins instead. He knew he wasn't going to use that, but he'd rather see absolutely everything as opposed to maybe missing out on something. So yeah, they did a version of Godzilla that would look more realistic as an amphibious animal. But it doesn't look like Godzilla anymore. So it's one of those things where, yes, if Godzilla was designed for the first time today, he would look very, very, very different. But Godzilla is a carryover from kind of an older age of filmmaking, so you're kind of and I don't mind, whatever. But yeah, I mean, so it could be an interesting way of kind of adjusting things that maybe people didn't like as much. Yeah. But finding a narrative way to kind of explain it, saying, and that way too. Now he's a mutation. He's absorbing more radiation. His body's evolving and changing. Oh, look, he's changing in the way that fixes the things everybody had a problem with in the first movie.
How convenient.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fun. That's fine. It works. As long as you make it work for the story, that's cool. Again, maybe
especially if they do a time gap. So
yeah, I mean, again, I've always wondered, did Godzilla go all the way back down, or is he up there? Like I said before,
probably went and took a long nap.
Maybe, but again, there's so much radiation on the surface now. Maybe he stayed up there. Again, I love the scene in '84. Yeah, right. I love the scene in '84 where he's actually go to the nuclear reactor and you see him feeding on radiation. I would love to see something like that happen. Almost Godzilla maybe storing up radiation the way like a bear stores up calories for the winter. And because he's storing up so much, maybe, again, he's getting so much more, again, concentrated amounts that now his body's, like I said, evolving in a way that before he never could because there was never that, I mean, there was radiation in our atmosphere, but it was never so, like, concentrated. Yeah. So his body is now, he's basically overdosing and, it's either, what happened? Either his body dies or it has to mutate to be able to handle it. So I don't know if that would be cool. So the fact that he didn't just say no to that question tells me that, yeah, we might be seeing a few, little tweaks, some augmentations to his design.
Get a little facelift.
Little facelift, yeah. And it kind of plays into like the old days when they would constantly be tweaking the suits, It's nice to see that something, a carryover maybe still kind of happening. But again, I think Shin would be the big reason why they would feel like they could do that now. Because again, they really, really did that in that movie. So any minor version of that in, Legendary's content, I don't think they'd have to worry about people jumping all over them anymore for it. Because if Toho can do it, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it, though. I mean, not much to say. Again, most of what we've all been kind of speculating, on the World Wide Web. Has been pretty much confirmed now. But again, I think it's because with that kind of setup, there's really only one kind of story you can tell with it. The only real question is how specifically that's going to lead into Godzilla versus King Kong, which comes out the following year. My only fear, and I'm going to put this out there right now, and I'll save this mostly for when we do another episode where we'll talk about that movie, which, believe me, we'll be talking about that movie, is that I don't want Godzilla at the end of this movie again, I don't want Godzilla to be just a legit good guy.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, all right, between one of the... Kong was obviously meant to look way more sympathetic in Skull Island, and I get it, he's a primate like us, so yes, because he's more relatable. He's not more relatable. They're giant fucking monsters. I don't care if Kong looks up at the sky and wonder. He can freaking karate chop a building in half, okay? I don't know about how awesome you are at the gym, but I can't relate to that. So don't be like, well, Kong has to win because he's more like... Fuck that. He's not more relatable. I cannot relate to King Kong any more than I can relate to Godzilla. My point is, I don't want them to bring Kong into this movie just to beat Godzilla.
Yeah.
I'm a Godzilla fan, so I don't want to see my monster lose.
He's called the King of Monsters.
Yeah, and that's my fears. But is Kong a monster? Godzilla's a monster. Kong is a being of I'm just worried they're gonna play it up that. So at the end of the movie, Godzilla standing over the bodies of the fallen monster. He is king, and now the world lives in terror of this new tyrant ruler of the world. Who will save us from Godzilla? Here is King Kong to save the... I don't want it to be like that. Because,
King Kong's got some growing up to do.
Well, I'm sure he will. But again, I didn't want Legendary to go through the trouble of getting the rights to Godzilla to make Godzilla a movie just to have him get beaten up then by King Kong. It's like, no, he's... You guys like King Kong, that's great. But Godzilla's my monster. I don't want him to get... more than likely, I think what they should do is smart. Is they're going to have a fight... and then something would happen where they're going to have to team. I think they kind of need to go. That's what I was
thinking, yeah.
Because again, we know Ghidorah is going to be introduced in this movie, but we don't necessarily know if Ghidorah is going to die. The movie's called King of Monsters. Maybe Godzilla doesn't win the fight.
Maybe he has recruits.
Well, maybe he gets his well, Godzilla in the past, when he's beaten Ghidorah, with the exception of GMK, he's had. Oh, actually, no. In the 90s, he beat him too. But in the classic Godzilla films, he needed help. And he got help from Rodan and Mothra, ironically. And
after they talked it out.
Yeah, so it could be a situation where, guess what? Godzilla gets his ass kicked, and he can't beat him on his own. They need help. Well, I know the comic books for Kong now, they're saying, okay, Monarch's been keeping him a secret. Okay, let's get Kong. But before they team up to fight the ultimate evil... Well, they probably don't like each other very much. So before they're going to kind of brawl it out first before they finally just have to come together and I think that's the way they should do it. Because that way we get the big bout.
And no one's like the bad guy.
Yeah, they're just two big alphas basically who are just being assholes to each other. They're going to roll around, fight, knock over some buildings, and then Ghidorah's going to show up, shoot lightning out of his mouth and whatnot.
And I'll be like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to have to team up, and at the end of it, they'll kind of look at each other, and Kong will go one way, Godzilla goes the other way, and that's it. I hope that's what they do. I hope they don't just bitch out Godzilla, because he's kind of the backbone of this whole franchise. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, because again, I don't know if Legendary is going to have the rights to Godzilla after this movie. I don't know how it works. It's been negotiated. If they're not, I hope it's not like, okay, we're going to just get rid of Godzilla and now make Kong the focus of the monster. I just hope they don't do that. I understand there's a lot of people who like Kong. That's fine. I like King Kong too. I thought Skull Island was great. But I just hope they're respectful to both characters.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get more of a sense of maybe how that movie is going to play out when we see how kind of this movie ends. What kind of note it leaves off. Again, if Godzilla is the ultimate victor, there might be setting it up, then we're okay. Kong is going to have to come save us from Godzilla. But if Ghidorah wins, okay, that explains why, Kong is going to kind of have to help out Godzilla.
Pull his weight. Yeah,
but before that happens, they're probably going to, have to, duke it out a little bit first to kind of, get it out of their system, So I hope that's the route they go. We seem to have been right about this movie. Let's hope that trend continues on.
I know, right?
But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, kind of all our hopes and dreams seem to have been confirmed so far. Its film is currently under production. I know it's shooting predominantly in Georgia right now. I think it's shooting mostly in Atlanta.
Gross. I used to live there. I did not enjoy it. Sorry.
The humidity. We're not humidity people.
I'm not heat. Okay, that's stupid.
I'm not heat.
I'm not a person that loves heat.
Okay, yeah, no, you're not.
I like
you're
it
not
cold and rainy.
Yeah, same here. I mean, just look at the me. Okay.
Look at the me. I'm not the only one talking down
Look
now.
at the me. I'm like a Saint Bernard in the summertime, and it's horrible. But yeah, no, but I know they shot a lot of Jurassic World down there too.
A lot of stuff's been shooting.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. It's kind of becoming like the new Vancouver. It's like, you know, it seemed like before that every movie was being shot in Vancouver. Now everything's being shot down in Georgia. But yeah, so I'm sure as production goes further along, once the film goes into post-production, I think that's when we're going to get a lot of more concrete stuff. That's when they can start releasing like finished shots of the movie. That's when we might start seeing some shots of the monsters themselves, because they're all going to be done in post now. I mean,
it'd be nice if they released some concept art maybe before, or leaked it.
Yeah.
Stuff was leaked.
Yeah, seems like everything's always getting leaked. You'd think by now they'd have better security for this kind of stuff. I'm sure it's all accidental when it happens. But anyway, yeah, so in the coming months, we're going to learn a lot more about this movie. And because of that, we'll probably start getting more details about Godzilla vs. Kong too. So this story is not going to be dying down anytime soon. So with that said, that's going to wrap things up for us. Again, we'll as more news breaks, we'll keep trying to do one of these a month just to kind of let it build up so we got enough to talk about. Hopefully we'll be getting a trailer for Godzilla Monster Planet soon. That's the only reason why we haven't done anything about that yet, because there's a lot of great story stuff, but nothing really to show for. We got that cool kind of silhouette of Godzilla that looks a little...
Finally.
Yeah, it looks kind of very legendary-esque, but I kind of... Even that, I want to see him for more angles and more of that. So hopefully we'll be getting some of that soon, and if so, we'll probably make the next episode about that. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace!